Keanu Reeves caught on CCTV, hiding and escaping with missing 8-year-old kid. But when the truth is revealed, everything changes. Before we continue, let us know where you're watching from. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel because tomorrow we have another special story for you. The grainy CCTV footage captured the moment in stark black and white. Timestamp: 2:47 p.m. outside Westbrook Shopping Center. A tall figure in dark clothing bursts into frame, a child's limp body cradled in his arms. His long hair whips behind him as he runs with desperate urgency. Pedestrians stop and stare. Some point, others pull out phones. The footage shows the man's face clearly as he passes under a camera. Keanu Reeves, the beloved Hollywood actor, his features twisted with panic and determination. The child in his arms appears unconscious, head lolling against his shoulder. Keanu's grip tightens as he cuts through the growing crowd, his eyes fixed ahead with singular focus. A security guard steps forward, hesitates, then reaches for his radio. Within minutes, police sirens wail in the distance. The CCTV captures more phones rising, recording. Social media explodes with urgent messages. Keanu Reeves running with unconscious child. Someone stop him. Call 911. The footage jumps to another camera angle, the parking lot. Keanu's pace hasn't slowed. If anything, he's running faster now, dodging between parked cars. The child hasn't moved. Behind him, 2 police cruisers screech into view, lights flashing. But what the cameras don't show, what no one in the growing crowd realizes, is that this isn't a crime in progress. It's a race against time, where every second could mean the difference between life and death. 30 minutes earlier, Keanu had been walking through the shopping center's outdoor plaza, baseball cap pulled low, trying to maintain his usual anonymity. The afternoon was warm, the kind of spring day that drew people outdoors. Children played near the central fountain while parents watched from nearby benches. A small commotion caught his attention. A child, maybe 7 or 8, suddenly dropping his ice cream cone and clutching his neck. At first, it seemed like just another playground mishap. But Keanu noticed what others didn't: the child's rapidly reddening face, the desperate gasps for air. "Hey, buddy, you okay?" Keanu approached quickly, parental instincts kicking in despite not having children of his own. The boy's eyes were wide with panic, his hands now clawing at his throat. A honeybee lay twitching on the ground nearby. The child tried to speak but could only wheeze. His small backpack had fallen open, spilling contents across the concrete. Among them, a bright red card caught Keanu's eye: medical alert information. His blood ran cold as he read, "Severe allergy to bee stings. Requires immediate medical attention if stung." No parent was rushing forward. No one was calling for help. The other children had backed away, unsure what was happening. Keanu scanned the crowd frantically, but the faces he saw were all strangers, all equally confused. At that exact moment, breaking news alerts buzzed on phones throughout the plaza. Amber Alert: 8-year-old boy missing from Westbrook area. Last seen wearing blue t-shirt and jeans. The boy's breathing was becoming more labored. His lips were starting to turn blue. Keanu made a split-second decision. The nearest hospital was 6 blocks away, too far to wait for an ambulance through midday traffic. He scooped up the child and the scattered backpack in one fluid motion. "Call an ambulance!" he shouted to the stunned onlookers. "Tell them to meet us at Central Hospital." But as he turned to run, he saw the phones pointing at him, saw the fear and suspicion spreading across faces. The boy's blue t-shirt matched the Amber Alert description perfectly. Someone in the crowd shouted, "Stop him! That's the missing kid!" Keanu ran faster. Behind him, chaos erupted. Security radios crackled to life. Police were called. Social media lit up with posts, "Keanu Reeves kidnapping child in broad daylight." Videos started circulating, each one more damning than the last. The child in his arms was growing heavier, his breathing more shallow. Keanu could feel the boy's pulse racing against his chest. The hospital was still 4 blocks away. "Stay with me, kid," he muttered, pushing himself to run faster. "Just stay with me." A police siren wailed in the distance. Someone had set up a roadblock ahead. Keanu cut down an alley, his lungs burning. The child's backpack bounced against his shoulder. Somewhere inside was an address, a way to contact parents, but there was no time to stop and look. The boy's eyes fluttered closed. "No, no, no," Keanu gasped. "Keep those eyes open, buddy. We're almost there." The hospital's emergency entrance was now visible in the distance, but so were the police cars converging from every direction. Social media had done its work. Everyone thought they knew exactly what they were seeing. Everyone was wrong. Let me write the main development section, 1,500 words, that covers the critical hospital sequence and escalating tensions. Keanu burst through the emergency room doors, the child now completely limp in his arms. "He's been stung by a B-severe allergic reaction," he shouted, his voice hoarse from running. "Please, he needs help now." The medical team sprang into action, their initial shock at seeing a Hollywood star quickly giving way to professional focus. A gurney appeared. Hands reached for the boy. Questions fired rapidly. How long ago was he stung? Has he had any medication? Does anyone know his medical history? Keanu handed over the medical alert card from the backpack, his hands shaking. "Found this with him. No EpiPen, no parent around. It's been maybe 10 minutes since the sting." The boy's face was now a frightening shade of blue. A doctor called out for epinephrine while nurses cut away the child's shirt. The medical team whisked him through double doors, leaving Keanu standing in the emergency room, chest heaving, still clutching the small backpack. Outside, police sirens grew louder. Keanu knew he had minutes at most. He upended the backpack onto a nearby chair, hands fumbling through school papers and lunch containers. There, a small ID tag sewn into the bag's interior. "If found, please return to Michael Chen, 1542 Maple Grove Road." Through the emergency room windows, he could see police cars surrounding the building. A nurse emerged from the treatment area. "Sir, we need the family's contact. Address is in the bag," Keanu cut in, already backing toward a side exit. "I'm going to get his parents. Please, just keep him alive." He slipped out just as police officers flooded the emergency room entrance, their hands on their weapons. The nurse looked between the address tag and the closing door, confusion evident on her face. Social media was exploding. #Keanu Kidnapper trended nationwide. Videos of him running through the shopping center played on loop on every news channel. Speculation ran wild. Had fame finally broken the beloved star? Was this a mental health crisis? A publicity stunt gone wrong? In a patrol car near the hospital, Officer Sarah Martinez watched the surveillance footage for the 5th time. Something wasn't adding up. The way Keanu had run, not away from people but toward the hospital. The medical alert card the nurses mentioned. The backpack he'd carefully grabbed along with the child. But her captain was already giving interviews outside the hospital. "We take any potential kidnapping seriously, regardless of the perpetrator's celebrity status," he announced to the gathering media circus. "Mr. Reeves will be apprehended and held accountable." Across town, Keanu ran up the steps of 1542 Maple Grove Road, his knuckles raw from pounding on the door. A woman opened it, phone pressed to her ear, clearly in the middle of a conversation. "Mrs. Chen?" Keanu gasped. "Your son, Michael, he's at Central Hospital. Bee sting, allergic reaction. They're treating him now." The phone clattered to the floor, her face drained of color. "What?" Michael was at Jenny's house. They were studying. Her voice trailed off as she grabbed her keys. "I can explain everything," Keanu started. But police sirens were approaching once again. Someone must have spotted him and called it in. "Please," he said quickly, "just get to the hospital. Your son needs you." He turned to leave, but it was too late. Police cars screeched to a halt in front of the house. Officers poured out, weapons drawn. "Hands where we can see them. Get down on the ground. Now, now, now." Keanu complied, slowly lowering himself to the ground. Mrs. Chen stood frozen in her doorway, keys still in hand, trying to make sense of the scene unfolding on her front lawn. The police captain approached, camera crews rushing to keep up. This was his moment, a high-profile arrest that would make national headlines. He reached for his handcuffs with flourish. "Wait!" Mrs. Chen's voice cut through the chaos. "What's happening? He was telling me about my son, about Michael." But the captain was already reciting rites, playing to the cameras. Keanu didn't resist as the handcuffs clicked into place. His only words, "Please, just make sure the boy is okay." Officer Martinez's radio crackled to life. "All units, update from Central Hospital. Child victim stable, receiving treatment for severe anaphylactic shock. Parents needed immediately for—" The captain switched off his radio, but Martinez had heard enough. She looked at Keanu, then at Mrs. Chen, then back at the media circus. The truth was starting to emerge, but the cameras were still rolling, hungry for scandal rather than heroism. Let me continue with the remaining portion of the main development section to reach our 1,500-word target for this part. The emergency room buzzed with controlled chaos. Inside the treatment area, Michael's condition was finally stabilizing, his airway responding to the emergency interventions. Dr. Sarah Wong checked his vitals again, shaking her head in amazement. 5 more minutes, she muttered, and we might have lost him. Outside, the media circus had transformed the hospital parking lot into a makeshift newsroom. Reporters speculated wildly about Keanu's motives, each theory more sensational than the last. Social media detectives picked apart every frame of the CCTV footage, claiming to find hidden clues about premeditation. "Breaking news," a reporter announced, her voice sharp with excitement. "Sources say the kidnapping suspect, actor Keanu Reeves, has been apprehended at a residential address. We're going live to the scene." Back at the Chen residence, Officer Martinez stood apart from the spectacle, her mind racing. She watched as they loaded Keanu into a patrol car, his head bowed not in shame, but in what looked like exhaustion and worry. She pulled out her phone, scrolling through the timeline of events. 2:42 p.m. First report of disturbance at Westbrook Shopping Center. 2:43 p.m. Child in medical distress noted. 2:47 p.m. Keanu spotted running with child. 2:51 p.m. Hospital arrival. 2:54 p.m. Emergency treatment begins. The Amber Alert had gone out at 2:44 p.m., but it was for a different child. Tommy Baker, age 8, who had wandered away from his grandmother at a nearby park. The descriptions were similar enough to cause confusion, but the timing didn't make sense for a planned kidnapping. Martinez's radio crackled again. This time, she turned up the volume. "Be advised, second child located safe at Riverside Park. Repeat, Tommy Baker found safe with grandmother. No signs of foul play." She looked at Mrs. Chen, still standing shell-shocked in her doorway. "Ma'am, does your son have any medical conditions we should know about?" "He's severely allergic to bee stings," Mrs. Chen replied, her voice trembling. "He carries an EpiPen, but sometimes forgets. Oh, God, I need to get to the hospital." Martinez made a decision. "I'll drive you," she said, then turned to her captain. "Sir, we need to rethink this situation. The timeline suggests—" "Officer Martinez," the captain cut her off sharply. "This is now a high-profile arrest. Let's not complicate things with theories." But Martinez stood her ground. "Sir, with respect, we have a duty to the truth. The hospital reports, the medical alert card, the timing of events. This doesn't add up to kidnapping. This looks like—" "Like what, officer? Like someone trying to save a child's life?" The captain's response was interrupted by his phone ringing. His face darkened as he listened. "What do you mean, wrong kid? Are you sure? Well, why didn't someone say something sooner?" Martinez was already opening her patrol car door for Mrs. Chen. "Ma'am, let's get you to your son. I have a feeling we're going to need your help setting the record straight." As they pulled away, the media crews scrambled to follow, sensing the story was about to take an unexpected turn. In the back of the patrol car, Keanu sat silently, his thoughts only on whether the boy had received help in time. The truth was racing to catch up with the headlines, But would it be fast enough to prevent the damage already done to both a celebrity's reputation and the public's trust in their own assumptions? Let me write the climax build section, 700 words, where the truth emerges and tensions reach their peak. Central Hospital's emergency room erupted into chaos as Mrs. Chen burst through the doors, Officer Martinez close behind. Dr. Wong met them immediately, her face breaking into relief. "Michael is stable," she announced. "The epinephrine treatment worked, but if he'd arrived even 5 minutes later—" She shook her head, letting the implications hang in the air. Mrs. Chen pressed a hand to her mouth, tears flowing freely. "Where's the man who brought him in? I need to thank—" Being processed downtown, Martinez cut in grimly. "But not for long, if I have anything to say about it." She pulled out her phone, showing Dr. Wong the footage that had sparked the manhunt. "We need your official statement about the timing and nature of the emergency." The hospital security cameras told a different story than the viral videos. They showed Keanu's desperate rush to the emergency room, his immediate call for medical help, his careful handling of the medical alert card. No kidnapper would have fought so hard to save a victim's life. Across town at the police station, Keanu sat in an interrogation room, still handcuffed, his hair falling forward to hide his expression. The captain paced before him, cameras waiting eagerly outside. "Just admit it," the captain pressed. "What was your real intention with the boy?" Keanu looked up slowly. "To get him to the hospital before he stopped breathing." The door burst open. Officer Martinez strode in, followed by Dr. Wong and 2 other officers. "Captain, you need to see this." She laid out a timeline of events, medical reports, and security footage. The boy, Michael Chen, was in anaphylactic shock. Mr. Reeves didn't kidnap him. He saved his life. The captain's face reddened. "But the Amber Alert—" "Was for a different child, who's been found safe," Martinez finished. "We got it wrong, sir. All of us." As if on cue, Mrs. Chen appeared in the doorway, her eyes red but her voice steady. "My son is alive because this man chose to act while others just watched. He's not a kidnapper. He's a hero." The silence in the room was deafening. Outside, the media circus had caught wind of the truth. Headlines began to shift. Breaking: Keanu Reeves saves child from fatal allergic reaction, and Hero in Hollywood, the real story behind the viral videos. The captain's phone buzzed incessantly. The mayor, the commissioner, all demanding updates. His high-profile arrest was unraveling spectacularly. "Remove those handcuffs," he finally ordered, his voice gruff with embarrassment. As the cuffs came off, Keanu rubbed his wrists quietly. No anger, no accusations, no demands for apologies. He had only one question. "How's the kid doing?" Mrs. Chen stepped forward. "He's asking for you. Wants to thank the man who saved him." She paused, emotion catching in her throat. "We all want to thank you." The captain cleared his throat awkwardly. "Mr. Reeves, about the arrest. We may have acted hastily." But Keanu was already standing, his focus solely on Mrs. Chen. "Can I see him?" Martinez grabbed her keys. "I'll drive you both." As they left the station, cameras flashed and reporters shouted questions. But the real story wasn't in the sensational headlines or viral videos. It was in the quiet moment that followed, when a movie star chose to run toward danger rather than away from it, when assumptions gave way to truth, and when the simple act of helping a stranger proved stronger than fear and suspicion. The truth had finally caught up with the lies, but the most remarkable part of the story was still to come. In Michael Chen's hospital room, a small celebration was underway. The 8-year-old sat up in bed, color returned to his cheeks, clutching a new medical alert bracelet, a gift from the hospital staff. Keanu sat beside him, both of them laughing as Michael described how he'd dropped his ice cream when the bee struck. "You know," Keanu said softly, "being a hero isn't about never being afraid. It's about doing the right thing even when you're scared." The incident sparked changes beyond that hospital room. The shopping center implemented an emergency response system, with clear protocols for medical emergencies. The police department revised its rapid response procedures, emphasizing verification before action. Social media, too, underwent a moment of reflection. The hashtag #LookCloser began trending, with people sharing stories of times when quick judgments had clouded the truth. At a small press conference a week later, Keanu declined to discuss the police's mistaken arrest. Instead, he announced a donation to local hospitals for allergy treatment equipment. "Sometimes," he said, "the biggest obstacle to helping others is the fear of how it might look." Michael's parents started a foundation promoting allergy awareness and emergency response training. Its motto, inspired by that day, "When seconds matter, kindness can't wait." The security footage that had once seemed so damning now played in first aid training sessions, teaching others about the vital difference between watching and acting, between assuming the worst and hoping for the best. As for Michael and Keanu, they maintained a quiet friendship. Every year, on the anniversary of that day, Michael received a simple text, "Keep that EpiPen close, kid," and every year he replied with the same message, "Haven't dropped any ice cream since." Sometimes the most heroic acts don't look like heroism at all until you take the time to look closer. If this story touched your heart, remember, in a world quick to judge, be someone brave enough to help. The next time you see something that doesn't look quite right, pause before you post. Your first instinct to help could save a life. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this story to remind others that sometimes heroes don't wear capes, they just run faster when everyone else stops to record. This is Alex, reminding you that the greatest wealth we'll ever have is the good we do for others. See you in the next one.